Hello and welcome to this look at one-point perspective in Illustrator. So for this we're going to need to use the perspective grid tool and the perspective selection tool, and then to move stuff around we also need to use this thing as well. So how are we going to do this? Well, let's start by drawing a shape, and we'll just draw it over here for now, and then we're going to give it a fill of this one. Alright, so how can we actually get this to appear on the grid, right? So let's take a look at the actual grid first of all then. So if we look at the grid, you can see here we've got the vanishing point. We can move the vanishing point. In general, like it makes sense to have it like if you're doing 1 point perspective and in the middle at the back somewhere. So for a 1920 canvas, that's sort of fine, about 960, right? And you can also like move your grid around a little bit if you like that as well. And you can also, this is the left side. You can only access the left grid, but if you wanted to do stuff on the right grid, you can sort of move it to the right. And so you can do stuff on both sides like that. So you sort of do each side at a time. And that is basically it, right? So then we have the how we actually move it. To actually move it, you have to do the perspective selection tool, right? And we can say with this box, well, I wanted to move it onto the left grid here. So then we have to click this button here and choose the left grid. So now you see we get this little arrow, and then I can move this onto the left grid like this. So you can see I could move it there, I can move it there, and that's going to basically have it on any part of the grid, and it will do all the the locking stuff as well. All right, what if we wanted to move it down here though? Well, then we'd have to go the horizontal grid, and then we'd pull it down here, and we can move it along there as well, and it's going to constantly update and do all the stuff. The final thing to mention is how I got the grid. I noticed the default grid is kind of super complex. So one thing I would suggest you do with the perspective grid is do a define grid. I'll tell you what the one I used, which was basic. I basically made the grid lines way higher. That way there's not so many grid lines. It's not so complicated to look at. And that was about it. And I changed it to pixels. So yeah, the other thing the perspective selection tool as well can do is obviously do things like this. And you can extend the path more and change it all within that perspective. That's really like quite a cool thing to do. But yeah, that's my first look at the perspective tool. I'll be doing more videos about this topic in the future. So thanks for watching.